Hello viewers, here is a Hampton Bay ceiling fan. I believe the model name is Lyndhurst. This is the only ceiling fan in this vacation house, and kind of like last year, this is another case of a relatively cheap fan that looks pretty good in a nice install. This is here in what they call the main lodge. There's some couches, television set. It's kind of a weird placement of it because the living space is kind of right here and it's off up in the corner, and it's much higher off the ground than it should be in order to be effective. And I'm really not sure why they did it this way, because even if you wanted it up there, by the wall for whatever reason, you could have put another probably 2 feet of down rod on there and it still would have been above the beam. So it's a strange placement for the install, and it does render it kind of ineffective, but that's what they did. There's an outlet box up there and then the box for the fan. Another kind of oddity, although they have something with plugs, because all the lights here, they just kind of plug in. There's almost nothing that's actually hardwired in this place. So anyways, I don't know if the blades are custom finish or if that's just how they come, but it's a nearly flawless match to the ceiling and walls in here. And the blades do seem to have a little bit of a droop to them. I believe this was installed 2 or 3 years ago. And this room is not climate controlled, so I'm not sure if we can really blame the thing for that. It's missing the light shades, and it has some incandescent Edison bulbs in there. And the chains are attached with tie wraps, which is kind of odd. They attach the pendants correctly. Perhaps these extensions didn't come with connectors, which is absolutely ludicrous if that's what happened. It's not a terrible looking fan. I think the irons are kind of weird, and so are the vents in the motor. It's not the worst thing that's out there. When I first saw it, it was running, and I thought it, from the outside, I thought it was a camera. Slightly disappointing to find out it was just this, but it's not bad. It looks pretty good in the space. Excuse that clock that is driving me up the wall. Alright, I'm going to turn the light back off so we can actually see the fan. And the video may be a little bit blurry because this room is just not very bright, and I really can't get a good lighting on it. So anyways, let's start off on high. It's got the plastic Hampton Bay pull fobs. It's got a hum to it and a slight startup sound. I'm not sure if that picked up on the video or not. And any apologies for this being a little bit shaky. I'm not using the tripod. And the daggone lens. I'm just going to clean it now. Yeah, that's a little better. I'll clean it properly when I get home. So, it's shaking a little bit. Dang, that's real blurry. Ugh. I really don't feel any air from it, honestly. Any airflow is going to be blocked by that couch because it blows down behind the couch. Which really was not installed very well. I don't know what they were thinking. If I stand directly under it, on the right side where there's a little bit of space for air to get over the blades, I do feel a breeze, but it's a very minimal breeze. Over here, where the blades have about an inch of clearance from the beam, I don't feel anything. So, I'm sure this is not the most powerful fan out there, but I really can't blame its performance on the lack of quality. I would blame that more on the nonsensical install. Actually, this is probably about as steep of a ceiling as one can install this on. If you look at the canopy, you can see it's almost all the way over. Usually this doesn't work, but I'll show it with the light on. Yes, it just kind of blows out the image. Got a couple different angles here. This was my first sight of it from outside here. Probably going to be a glare, but let's see if we can record it that way. Yep, there's a glare. You can see how it kind of looks like a camera on while it's running. Is that in focus? Not really. Tag on it on blur. Alright, let's go down to medium. And I'm losing charge on the camera. Still hear a little bit of hum. Still wobbles a hair too. There is air moving, but again, it's not anything that's going to really help you in the room unless you're standing directly under it. Even just standing here, I don't really feel anything. There probably should be at least 2, if not 3 of these in this room to properly move the air around. This is a pretty large room. I would say it's probably close to 20 feet, if not more than that. I would have put one on this beam and one on that beam, a further one, or if they want it higher, just above the beams. Perhaps they have this put in for heat reclamation. There is a wood stove in here, and so in that case, I suppose this would be a logical place to put it. But this isn't really a Four Seasons house, so I tend to believe that's really not its primary purpose. This is how it was running when I came in, medium with the lights on. It's relatively quiet. I don't feel any breeze over here whatsoever, really. And there is no air conditioner in this building. So you'd think you'd install it such that it actually is useful. I don't know. I don't believe there was anything more interesting in here previously. All the electrical looks new. And the place changed ownership in, I believe, 2016 it was. So that's probably when this electrical was put in and this fan was installed. Of course, there's always the possibility that there's something more interesting here previously, but I don't think so. Usually it's drastically worse with the lights on, but I don't know what's worse in this case. Neither of them is really giving me a good picture. Alright, we'll go down low. The low is quite slow on this. I don't know how people can live with those things in their house. That, oh my goodness. Anyways, I don't feel, maybe a slight draft, that's it. I don't feel much of a breeze here. Yeah, I guess there's a very slight draft. Still humming. Show it again with the light on. It's a nice, slow, low speed. Not quite as slow as I'd like it to be, but it's certainly better than what these cheap fans usually have. Alright, we'll do spin down now, even though I think it's a waste of time. I know someone's gonna have wanted to seen it. Show it over here without the light on it. Whatever. Alright, and we'll cut it off now. See if I can set this down on the table. I'm using a handheld tripod thing, so maybe I can get this to work. There we go. That's pretty good. It's not a bad fan. It certainly looks decent in the installation, although I'm not a fan of the weird irons and motor vents. At least they're kind of consistent throughout the fan. I don't know what kind of shades would have been on the light originally. Probably can find out pretty easily if you look on the Google. But yeah, I wouldn't have installed it this way. I would have probably put it, if you're going to use the stock down rod, I would have either put it on the beams or would have put it at least in the middle of the ceiling, so it's kind of closer to the living space. And I also would have used more than one, because the way it's installed right now is not very effective. But it looks nice and it's there, so can't complain. Seems to spin down for an awful long time. It's getting pretty close to that beam there, maybe 2 inches of clearance. And it's actually pretty close to this wall too. Where are we looking here? There we go. Again, maybe 2 inches of clearance. 2.5 at most, 3. It's really close. So, not a good install in terms of functionality and performance. So I'm not going to comment on the performance of this fan because it would probably work better in a different environment. But yeah, it's not bad. A little bit of humming, but I don't think it's anything intolerable. I don't know how much he's cost offhand, but I'm sure it's not much. It's probably less than $100. The motor does have cooling fins in it. Couple of cobwebs on there. I don't think this gets used that often. There's a little bit of dust on the tips of the blades. I would imagine it's probably never been cleaned since it was put in, so this is probably a pretty low hours unit. And it has come to a stop. So it's time to close out the video.